through generations. Others sought refuge with the British, hoping to find protection from the relentless onslaught. Yet, even amidst the chaos and destruction, the spirit of resistance lingered. The Iroquois Confederacy was down, but not out. The magnitude of the devastation was a stark reminder of the brutal realities of war. It was a testament to the lengths to which men would go to secure victory, even if it meant destroying the very thing they were fighting for: freedom. Yet, for Sullivan and his men, this was a necessary evil. They believed that by depriving the enemy of resources and demoralizing their supporters, they could weaken their resistance and pave the way for an American victory. The devastation was immense, but the campaign was far from over. The American forces had achieved their objective, but at a heavy cost. The scars of war were etched deep into the land and the hearts of its people. As the smoke cleared, one thing was clear: the Sullivan expedition had forever changed the course of the American Revolutionary War. As Sullivan's forces pushed forward, they faced constant threats that tested their resilience. The journey through the wilderness was fraught with danger. Loyalist and Native American forces, far from being passive targets, were active threats. They were familiar with the terrain, and they used this to their advantage. Engaging in guerrilla warfare tactics, they harassed Sullivan's forces, launching surprise attacks and then melting back into the wilderness. The American forces were fighting an enemy they couldn't see, an enemy that seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. This was not a conventional war. It was a war of attrition, a war of endurance. But the threats didn't just come from outside. Within Sullivan's ranks, disease was a silent enemy that took its toll. In the close quarters of the camp, contagion spread easily. Fever, dysentery, and other ailments weakened the soldiers, sapping their strength and reducing their fighting capabilities. Each day was a battle against not just the enemy forces, but also against their own bodies. Desertion was another internal challenge. Some soldiers, faced with the harsh realities of the campaign, chose to abandon their posts. The wilderness was unforgiving. The enemy was elusive. The conditions were brutal. Morale was a constant struggle. How do you keep men motivated in the face of such adversity? Sullivan had to manage these challenges while keeping his forces moving forward, while keeping the objective in sight. The odds seemed stacked against them. The wilderness was a hostile environment. The enemy was relentless. Disease was rampant. Desertion was a constant threat. Yet Sullivan's forces persevered. They pushed through the challenges, through the pain, through the uncertainty. They held the line. They kept moving forward. They achieved what they set out to do. They disrupted the British supply lines. They dismantled the Native American alliance with the British. They destroyed their villages, their crops, their resources. Despite the odds, Sullivan's forces stood firm, achieving their military objectives. Victory often comes at a price, and the Sullivan expedition was no exception. In the aftermath of this monumental campaign, the landscape of upstate New York was irrevocably changed. The Iroquois Confederacy, once a formidable power, was dealt a severe blow. Its member nations, particularly the Seneca and Cayuga, were left reeling from the extensive destruction of their villages and resources. These communities faced significant losses, forced to flee their ancestral lands or seek refuge with the British. The Sullivan expedition had achieved its military objectives, disrupting British operations in the region. The scorched earth tactics had effectively neutralized the threat posed by the Iroquois Confederacy to the American control of upstate New York. The campaign had also successfully undermined the Native American alliance with the British, leaving them without a significant ally in the region. However, the widespread destruction came with its fair share of controversy. Critics of the campaign accused Major General John Sullivan and his forces of violating the principles of just warfare. They argued that the systematic devastation of Native American villages, crops, and resources constituted indiscriminate violence against civilian populations. These ethical questions continue to reverberate in historical assessments of the Sullivan expedition. The campaign, while successful in its military objectives, raised complex issues about the use of violence and the treatment of civilians in wartime. It sparked a debate that extends beyond the confines of the American Revolutionary War, touching upon broader themes of conflict, morality, and the human cost of victory. In the grand scheme of the Revolutionary War, the Sullivan expedition marked a turning point in the Northern Theater. It paved the way for future American offensives in the region, shaping the course of the war and, by extension, the trajectory of American history. The Sullivan expedition, a campaign of devastation and victory, left an indelible mark on the American Revolutionary War. Its legacy, fraught with triumph and controversy, continues to be a subject of scrutiny and discussion among scholars, historians, and enthusiasts alike.